Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Today feels like a good day to finish up the Evo 10 project and go on a nice drive. Now, before we get started working on the car, if the microphone sounds a little bit funny today, there's a reason for it. Someone got a little bit hungry and decided to eat part of my microphone. I have no idea who in their right mind would do that, but if it sounds funny, that's why. So today we need to do a few little things on the car before we go drive it. Here's what we need to do. Set the transfer case gear oil height, set the transmission gear oil height, bleed the power steering, swap out the water for coolant, check engine oil level, and I need to put new brake lines on. If we come over here and we take a look at that, you can see she broken. Half of the OEM Mitsubishi brake line is this steel that does not like to bend at all. If you bend it a little bit, they tend to crack, and that's what happened there. So I did buy some full braided stainless lines that'll run from the caliper all the way to the frame rail, which should do away with this two-part system, which is kind of pointless, in my opinion. Let's start off with setting the height on the transfer case and transmission. Now, in order to do that, what I like to do is hop in the car, put it in gear, run it through the gears, get all the oil moving around, shut it off, let it sit for a minute, and then pull out that bolt and that bolt, and you simply just let it drain till it stops draining. If the car's level, your heights are good to go, your levels are good to go, and we can move on. As those fluids are draining, let's go ahead and do the brake line kit. So this is made by AMS, and like I said, man, this should take care of that issue of this hard steel line that doesn't like to bend at all. So here's the old broken brake line and the new one going on. New brake lines are on, re-bled the brakes. Let's move on to the power steering. So we got her topped off to the max level line. Now we're gonna get in the car, fire it up so the pump is turning and spinning, of course, and just turn the wheels from left to right slowly, and that's gonna push all the air from the rack to the reservoir and out the top. It's time that we go stack some miles on this brand new motor. I want to get at least 50 miles on it, come back to the shop, pull the filter, cut it, make sure everything's good to go. So with that being said, we, my friends, are going on a drive in the brand new Evo motor build. That's pretty important with a brand new motor to get the rings seated to the cylinder walls so you have proper compression, you're not burning oil, things like that. Is a lot of engine braking. So downshifting and letting the engine brake the car instead of the brakes itself. That's very crucial for getting your rings to seat quickly. You want them to seat as quickly as possible. My friends, the first 50 miles is complete. The main thing I want to do right now is go ahead and pull the filter and cut it just to make sure there ain't crazy gunk in there. And of course, see if we have any oil leaks. Now, thankfully, this thing is as dry as it could be. Not one speck of oil from what I'm seeing. Also, if you remember, we did have a leaky CV boot. It actually wasn't the boot. The boot was fine. It was just the clamp. So I replaced the clamp, and that's no longer leaking. Unfortunately for the steering rack boots, I bought some from O'Reilly's. They weren't even close to fitting, so I need to order OEM ones, get those swapped out later. But nonetheless, let's do the scary part. Pull off the filter, lop it open, and see if there's any funny business. Are you kidding me? I guess that is one way to get your filter off. I won't consider it the right way, but it works. Beautiful. Again, I know I just showed this the other day on Bobby's Evo 10, but I like to look in between the papers here, the feathers, make sure there's nothing weird in there. And then if you take a peek in here, if you have a little bit of oil left and you look at it as you're dumping it out, there shouldn't be anything in there. Beautiful filter. Oil change is done, filter change is done, filter cut is done. The only thing that we have left fluid wise is draining out the water and putting in coolant. I'm just gonna drain the water outside and makes life a little bit easier. While the car's up in the air on the lift, I wanna finally pull off the white TEs and put on a different set of wheels, which I think are gonna look a lot better. Well, I know they will. They are the OG wheels for the Evo 10. Now they're not red and blue like they used to be, and I don't know if I'm gonna do that again. I'll leave it up to you guys. They're currently black. Now back in the day when Jared did have his Evo 10, I gifted him these wheels. He then sold his Evo 10 on stock wheels, so I bought him back specifically for this car. All right, we got the wheels on, got her outside. Here's how she looks. Very, very, very beautiful. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to the red and blue wheels like I had in the past. She turned out so sick. This side, of course, this still need to be wrapped. This is going the dark camo like it used to be. Other than that, looks wise, she's pretty much finished up. Bobby, Devin, and Jared are gonna go shoot some cool footage of the Evo. Mic'd up. Obviously I can't do pulls yet because that motor's only got about 50 miles on it. We should be tuning it here in the next few days. I need to stack a few hundred miles on it before we go to the dyno. And I think what I want to do is have a few different maps. Thankfully on a stock Evo 10 ECU, you can select different maps through the cruise control. So I'll probably have a map that's like a 500 wheel, a 600 wheel, a 700 wheel, and maybe even an 800 wheel. Alrighty, in order to get a few more miles on this thing before the dyno, I've decided to drive her home. You wanna go for a rip in the Evo, bud? Come on. Come on, baby. We are now up to right around 100 miles on the new motor. She ran phenomenally the whole way home. I usually like to get a couple 100 miles on a new motor before we hit the dyno. At least like 400 or 500 miles is my go-to. Next few days, we're gonna finish up the wrap and then it's on to the dyno. Gonna wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I'll see you boys when we finish the wrap. Good night.